Hi, my name is Mark Stipic. I'm the work cover guy. Thank you very much for tuning in. Today I'm answering the question, which employers should think about using occupational rehabilitation? Now, I would say, look, occupational rehabilitation providers are basically there to facilitate a return to work and support the employer and the injured worker with communication, bringing all the parties together for communication around return to work. They can support you in preparing return to work plans and identifying the tasks on site, what's available there. They can facilitate communication back to the treating health practitioners. I would say that for employers that have got a fairly high degree of experience and skill when it comes to return to work, if you're a full-time return to work coordinator, if that's your primary job, and you've gone through, your 2 days of training and, you've been working in that area for a while, I'd be surprised if you really needed to use occupational rehabilitation provider all that much. There might be instances where there's a particularly complex claim and the relationship has broken down. Commonly, I would think that would be a mental injury claim, particularly when there are certain relationships that are broken down as a result of it. They might be the exceptions to where you might need that third party, sort of a more independent set of eyes and hands involved in a case. Sometimes there might be particularly complex injuries with, pain sort of symptoms and, where the diagnosis and the prognosis are just a bit more complex. And maybe those might be instances where you might need a rehab provider involved. But I would say the higher your skill level as a return to work coordinator, the less likely it should be that you need an occupational rehabilitation provider. If you're an employer who's pretty new to work cover, and let's say this might be the first work cover claim you've ever had, or you haven't had one since 5 years ago, or the only claims you ever have are sort of open and shut, 1 or 2 weeks, and then back to normal duties, then I'd say it's probably a pretty good idea to get a rehab provider involved. You'll actually probably learn quite a bit about return to work through the process, and if you have a few injuries in close succession, hopefully you don't actually need rehab on every single case, because you will hopefully skill yourself up during the process while you're working with a rehab provider. But certainly, if you're very inexperienced when it comes to return to work, and the more serious that the injury is, for example, if there's surgery involved, or if you're struggling to make accommodations for the injury, then I'd say occupational rehabilitation is the right choice for you as a smaller, perhaps less experienced employer in this area. Hope this has been helpful for you. Thank you very much for tuning in, and if you've got a question for me, please leave it here in the YouTube comments.